Did you know that insect hordes can sometimes number in the trillions? Wasps can even take over an entire state, building huge hives anywhere they find suitable. Although insects are small creatures in large swarms, they can cause incredible inconvenience, take over huge buildings, and even put an entire country at risk of starvation. In this video, I will show you some of the most frightening insect infestations and invasions caught on camera. It's definitely worth watching. Let's get started. Crickets. Giant Mormon crickets are causing a serious problem for American farmers. These crickets often form armies of hundreds of thousands of individuals and invade an area of several tens of square kilometers. This invasion greatly affects the farmland and disrupts the comfort of people living in those areas. These crickets are 7 centimeters long and can plow through the states, sweeping away everything in their path. Global invasions of these crickets occur every few decades, but in the 21st century, they are becoming much more frequent and spontaneous. For example, in 2003, 3 American states, namely Nevada, Utah, and Idaho, experienced a sudden invasion of Mormon crickets. This invasion was due to the mild winter and 3 years of drought, which created ideal breeding conditions for these crickets. Mormon crickets invaded the states, overran highways, and devoured crops. Farmers sounded the alarm, and American drivers also suffered. The enormous number of crushed insects actually turned the roadway into an ice rink. The invasion of Mormon crickets has hit the state's economy hard. Unfortunately, the crickets resumed their infestation just a few years later in 2006, repeating the same cycle. The Mormon cricket invasions in America looked frightening and epic, but they were nowhere near the invasions involving billions and trillions of insects. Stay tuned to learn about these incredible invasions, including those of wasps and hornets that took over entire states and provinces, and see an invasion that scientists mistook for a powerful thunderstorm. Let's move on. Bedbugs. Bedbugs are some of the most disgusting and unpleasant insects imaginable. This is probably because they attack us while we're asleep, and there's nothing we can do to stop them. Thorough and regular cleaning is thought to be enough to keep a house free of bedbugs, but sometimes the insects have plans of their own. Between 2004 and 2009, New Yorkers suffered a very powerful bedbug infestation. To be more precise, they suffered a series of infestations in 5 years, with the number of infestations increasing manifold. Bedbugs occupied not only the outskirts, but also the central and most famous buildings in the world's most famous metropolis. Moreover, in just 1 year, bedbugs were found in more than 1,000 schools in New York City, and many of the city's high-end stores had to close to carry out extensive disinfection. Even the United Nations headquarters, some of the most secure buildings in the world, which are regularly monitored and cleaned, were hit by bedbugs. The legendary Empire State Building was not an exception, and Lincoln Center, the largest cultural center in New York City, was also affected. Interestingly enough, around the same time period, a similar infestation of bedbugs hit Paris. It's still unknown what exactly prompted the insects to occupy the 2 famous cities, but as you can see, even such megalopolises are not immune to the attacks of insects. Mosquitoes. Have a look at this video. It appears to show a tornado taking shape right in front of us. The whirlwinds are still thin, but they're about to get thicker and suck up everything in their path. However, there is no tornado at all. It's actually an unusual mosquito infestation. There were so many insects that they formed entire whirlwinds. This video was filmed in Bolshoi, a city in Sverdlovsk Oblast, Russia last year. This phenomenon is familiar to those who are involved in beekeeping. According to experts, this behavior is typical for members of the Hymenoptera family. Sexually mature individuals participate in swarming, which is done to divide the colony into daughter colonies. Swarming is most noticeable in calm, sunny weather and is therefore more noticeable to people. The size of the swarm depends on the particular insect species. There are swarms of small insects that are less visible and swarms of large Hymenoptera with a large number of individuals. Grasshoppers. How can grasshoppers be dangerous? They just sit in the grass and stridulate. don't they? Generally speaking, they do. If the grasshoppers are few, that's fine. But in huge numbers, they can pass and harm an entire city. That's exactly what happened in 2014. Then the residents of Albuquerque, which is in the U.S. state of New Mexico, experienced the worst grasshopper infestation in years. Meteorologists were one of the first people to discover the grasshoppers. The insects formed a huge green army, which even showed up on the radar. This is Houston. Say again, please. Houston, we have a problem. Initially, the meteorologists thought a storm was coming to the city. Only later, they realized that it was not a usual storm but a storm of green insects. The air was filled with these stridulating creatures, with the height of the swarm reaching up to 300 meters in some places. As it turned out, the reason for the incredible invasion was the dry, warm winter, which didn't destroy the insect's eggs, triggering a grasshopper's baby boom. Fortunately, the infestation didn't do much damage to the city. Meteorologists even found a silver lining in it. Now they know what an insect infestation looks like on radar, so they can warn locals about such invasions in advance. Wasps. An army of grasshoppers may not be the most pleasant sight, but at least they don't attack people. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for wasps. An invasion of wild wasps is a nightmare, especially for those who are afraid of these insects. In 2019, residents of Alabama experienced just such a large-scale invasion of striped insects. Unlike grasshoppers, these wasps built huge hives all over the state and were extremely aggressive. Inside many of these hives were up to 15,000 wasps, about 4 times as many as a normal hive. The wasps occupied homes, cars, and even crawled into mattresses and walls. Removing a hive was a dangerous task as anyone who tried to do so got stung. Thankfully, the wasps eventually left the state, but it was definitely a scary experience for those affected. Hornets. What could be worse than a mass invasion of wasps? Probably only a mass invasion of larger stinging striped insects, the notorious hornets. This was the hell experienced by the people of Shanxi province in China in 2013. The hornet infestation itself sounds pretty creepy, but even more frightening is the fact that the province was hit by the largest hornets in the world, the Asian giant hornets, Vespa mandarinia species, which exceeded 5 centimeters in length. Experts say the infestation was helped by the fact that winters in the region have become milder and summers have been hot and humid for a long time. This led to an increase in vegetation cover, which in turn caused a mad increase in the hornets' population. In just 3 months, hordes of huge hornets, over 1,500 people, about 200 of them ended up in hospitals, more than 30 ended up in intensive care units, and about 40 to 50 people became victims of the crazy infestation. To save the province, the authorities instructed firefighters to exterminate the insects. Firefighters donned special protective gear and literally scorched the monsters with flamethrowers. It was both creepy and epic at the same time. Locusts. Locusts are annoying insects that buzz, chirp, and devour agricultural land. Even in relatively small swarms, these insects pose a great danger to agriculture. When they gather in giant swarms of up to hundreds of millions of individuals, catastrophe becomes unavoidable. Madagascar faced this problem relatively recently. In 2013, this African country experienced one of the largest locust invasions in history. In late 2012, the government warned the local population that the locust population in Madagascar was rapidly increasing. However, they had no idea how much the populations would eventually grow. In early 2013, conditions in Madagascar were perfect for the locust population to multiply. By March 2013, giant swarms of locusts literally occupied the country. The armies of these insects numbered in the billions, not millions. The situation got out of control, and a giant locust invasion affected half of Madagascar. The insects destroyed the crops, particularly the main fodder crops, leading to starvation. About 60% of the country's population found themselves in very difficult conditions. The infestation destroyed over 60% of the rice crop, threatening the existence of many animal species and causing enormous damage amounting to tens of millions of dollars. It's amazing what swarms of insects can do. Cicadas. Cicadas and locusts are often compared because of their similar characteristics. Like locusts, cicadas can make loud noises and gather in massive swarms. In history, there have been many cicada invasions, one of which happened recently in May of this year. In the United States, trillions of cicadas from the Great Eastern Brood invaded the country, making it one of the largest broods of periodical cicadas in the Americas. After a month, the cicadas bred, laid eggs, and died. The infestation is currently declining, but the offspring that the army left behind are already underground, waiting for the next invasion in 17 years. It's exciting to think about how many cicadas will be in the next invasion, possibly even quadrillions. Have you experienced any insect invasions? Share your stories in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.